You sure you're free?
What else would I be doing?
Hey everyone, this is Jeff, aka 11 Bronson, welcoming you all back to another part of my DVD and Blu-ray collection. In this part, I'm going to show you my complete Al Pacino collection. Now, it is not a definitive complete Al Pacino collection. There's still a few movies that I'm missing. However, it's pretty much damn near complete. I think I need 5 or 6 more movies, which I will list at the end of this video. And I probably will do a video after, when I do have those 6 titles, when I've tracked them down, and sort of just do that as a little update to this massive Pacino video. So without any further ado, let's go into it, because there's quite a few films to cover. I think there's about 40 of them, 45, I don't know. For those that can keep count, be my guest and list the number of films I have down in the comments. Anyway, first up, as you know, I'm keeping all my films alphabetically, so this is first in the collection, 88 minutes on Blu-ray, a pretty solid thriller for me. I mean, I know people don't like it as much. For me, I was always fine with this movie for what it is. And this is the director's cut, but that doesn't mean much. I think there's like 2 minutes added, but you know, it's the most complete film. So next up is A Day to Remember, which is the title over here, but it's more commonly known as Two Bits. Pacino, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who was with him in Scarface. She played his sister in Scarface. She's in this film. Directed by James Foley, who did Glengarry Glen Ross. Pacino did this film as a favor to him because Glengarry Glen Ross turned out to be such a great experience and a great success for Pacino. He was nominated for the Academy Award for that film. And in this film, Pacino plays a grandfather role. He's not in it as much. It's more about a little kid who is in love with movies, and he's saving up 2 bits to go see a film or something. It takes place during the Depression era. It's actually a pretty good film. It's not one that I've watched over and over again, but whenever I do watch it, I'm like, yeah, this is a pretty solid film actually. It's from 1995, the same year Pacino also did the film Heat, which of course was way more successful, but yeah, anyway, I like 2 bits. I do recommend to people that haven't seen it yet. Next up is a classic from 1979, And Justice for All. Al Pacino as a lawyer. The tagline, this man needs the best lawyer in town, but the problem is he is the best lawyer in town. Courtroom drama, directed by Norman Jewison from 1979. Pacino, John Forsythe, Lee Strasberg is in it. Jack Warden right there. About a judge who is actually put under indictment for a crime. He wants Pacino to defend him, but Pacino finds out that the judge might not be innocent, and so there's a moral dilemma. Does he defend this judge who he doesn't have a good relationship with to begin with? He actually pretty much hates him. So it's a very good one. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but it's a good one. Next up is a HBO miniseries, Angels in America. This is a DVD release. It's a 6-hour miniseries put on 2 DVDs with an all-star cast, including the man himself, Al Pacino, also Meryl Streep, Emma Thompson, Jeffrey Wright. Let's see what else is in this. Mary Louise Parker. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna read it off here. Oh, I pretty much read all the principals. Okay. Justin Kirk, he's also in a very good HBO miniseries, this one. Very good role from Pacino. It's not a, well, it is actually a miniseries, but it's not a project of Pacino's career I go back to often because it is very lengthy. Like I said, in total it's all 6 hours, but you can watch it in parts. But it is a very good acted piece by everyone involved, including Pacino. It's definitely, again, one that I recommend. For me, I might be biased because Pacino is my favorite all-time actor, but there's not many films or projects that he did that I really don't like. I pretty much like everything Pacino does. But next up is Any Given Sunday, a 1999 sports drama. Again with an all-star cast, also including Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, Jamie Foxx, James Woods, LL Cool J. Very, very good movie. Directed by Oliver Stone, who also wrote it. And originally, Clint Eastwood was supposed to play the Pacino part, but Oliver Stone didn't want to give up the directorial chair, because if Clint Eastwood was going to do it, he was also going to direct it. So they went with Pacino instead, and seeing Clint Eastwood in this would have been interesting, seeing what Eastwood would have done with it, but I'm glad they went with Pacino, because... Sorry, I had to make a little bit of a cut there. My cats were jumping all over the place for no fucking reason. I'm glad they went with Pacino because there's a great monologue in this film. We all know the speech that Pacino gives. And I don't see Clint pulling that off. I mean, Clint himself has said that he was never really good with monologues and long pages of dialogue. And this is really more Pacino sort of role anyway. But it's still... Not to take anything away from Eastwood. Eastwood is a legend. He would have been great as well. I would have loved to have seen what he would have done. But I'm just saying, in the end, I'm glad that they went with Al Pacino, because he absolutely is amazing in the film. Next up is a family comedy sort of film, Offer Offer, from 1982. This one was sandwiched in between some of... The early 80s were really weird with Pacino. He went from 1980s Cruisin, which we're going to get to shortly, which was a very dark, grimy, sleazy cop thriller. Then he went to do this, and then he went on to do Scarface. But I like this film in which Pacino plays a dad who's a New York playwright, struggling with the relationship in his life, and he has to deal with the kids and everything. It's a very heartwarming sort of a family comedy, a little bit of drama. One could almost say this is like sort of Pacino's Kramer versus Kramer, but there isn't a sort of court battle. But it's sort of similar in which he just all of a sudden is left with these kids to deal with. But it's a very good one in my opinion. It's sort of a bit underrated. And the same can be said for this one. It's not my usual sort of film. It's not the usual sort of film for Pacino, but this is Bobby Deerfield from 1977. A film directed by Sidney Pollack, who did Tootsie, and among great other films. I think he also did Out of Africa. But this is a very sort of depressive sort of romance film in which Pacino plays a race car driver called Bobby Deerfield, who goes to a Swiss clinic and meets this terminally ill woman played by Martha Keller, who was Pacino's real-life girlfriend at this time. They fell in love on the set of this film, and they were a couple for a bit. And it's I'm not going to spoil much, but it's a romance that ends in tragedy. So it's very unusual for Pacino, but I still really like him, and I think Pacino is photographed very well in this film. There's some great cinematography in this film. If I remember who did that. Of course it doesn't say here on the back, but the film looks great despite it still being a very old Warner Brothers DVD released in 2005. I know there's a Twilight Time Blu-ray of this. I'm trying to get it. Of course it's out of print and goes for ridiculous amounts of money, but I'm gonna wait patiently till a good deal on it pops up. So yeah, there you go. 77's Bobby Deerfield. Next up we have a gangster classic, gangster crime drama, Carlitos Way, from 1993 with Al Pacino and Sean Penn, directed by Brian De Palma, 10 years after working with Pacino on Scarface. And again, dealing with Latino gangsters, this time Puerto Rican instead of Cuban. And it's a phenomenal film. I think it's one of De Palma's best. I know there's a few people that actually prefer this over Scarface. You guys know me, I just absolutely love Scarface to death. That's my favorite film of all time. But this comes pretty damn close, man. This is a really, really great film. And I still think this is a bit underrated in terms of gangster films. It's again, if you mention gangster film, people say Scarface, Godfather, Goodfellas. Not too many people would throw this one in. When you ask them, think of your best gangster films, maybe they would, but I still feel this one doesn't get talked about enough, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's Carlitos Way. Next up is a 1996 political drama. This is City Hall, with Al Pacino, John Cusack, Bridget Fonda. Directed by Harold Becker, who did Sea of Love with Al Pacino. With music by Jerry Goldsmith. Don't remember too much about this film. I remember liking it, but nothing in it sticks out really. I'd say only give this one a watch if you're a die-hard Pacino fan. He plays the mayor of New York City in this film. Deals with corruption, murder, greed, whatever, but yeah, political intrigue film. But yeah, still, I don't remember too much about it. I really have to give it a rewatch. I might do that soon. But yeah, I'd say check it out only for Pacino completionists like myself, for diehard Pacino fans. So next up is 1980s Cruisin by William Friedkin. Remember, this is the film he did before Offer. Also with the late great Paul Sorvino in it. And Karen Allen. This is the Arrow Video Collector's release of it with the slipcase. This is a fun fact, this was my very first Arrow edition. I didn't know anything about Arrow, I just knew that, hey, Cruisin is finally on Blu-ray, I have to get it. So, and it comes with a booklet, which I'll quickly show. We don't have too much time to go into booklets and stuff, but yeah. 1980s cop thriller. Pacino plays a cop going undercover in the New York S&M gay bars because there's been a couple of murders, leather bars, and yeah, there's some disturbing stuff in here. But you know, I don't mean that to be offensive. I mean, people are into this, to each their own. You know, I'm just saying it's not the most comfortable film for a heterosexual male like myself, but you know, I do appreciate this film. You know, it's I do appreciate this film. It's a very well-made thriller. Still too unsure about the ending, which I'm sure a lot of people would be, but nonetheless, despite some issues, despite some problems, I think Cruisin is a pretty good, solid cop thriller. So yeah, next up, moving on to a more lighter film. 2015's Danny Collins. I have to get this on Blu-ray. This is one that I have to upgrade still. Really good film. I say, along with The Irishman, one of Pacino's best films in recent years. Also starring Bobby Cannavale, the late great Christopher Plummer, Jennifer Garner, Annette Bening. Very, very heartwarming, sort of comedy / drama, in which Pacino plays an aging singer who tries to reconnect with his long-lost son. There's a lot of heart to this film. This is a really good one. I really like this film, based on or inspired by true events. So yeah, another one I have to upgrade, The Devil's Advocate with Pacino and Keanu Reeves. Probably one of the only films in which I can say Keanu Reeves does a good job. Anyway, it's hard not to do a good job when standing next to Al Pacino most of the time, but yeah. As you all know, I'm not the biggest Keanu Reeves fan, but I do love this. I love this film, but that's mostly because of Pacino. I think if Pacino wasn't in it, I probably wouldn't give two flying Fs about this film, but yeah, it is a good one from the year that I was born, 1997, and also with Charlize Theron in it. So yeah, Devil's Advocate. Check it out. It's a classic Pacino film that I really recommend. Speaking of which, next up is 1975's Dog Day Afternoon Limited Steelbook Edition. Keep this one in a protective sleeve. German Steelbook Edition. Yeah, another great Pacino performance from 1975. Really sort of the peak Pacino era. It's like those first few years where he was turning out The Godfather, Godfather 2, Scarecrow, Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon. That was really like, just those films alone, man. It's that would be a career, but you know, he went on and on. But yeah, Dog Day Afternoon, great film. Sidney Lumet directed this one in 1975, based on a true story, based on a true event of a bank robbery gone wrong. Very good film. Haven't seen it, check it out. That's what I say. Next up, another sort of underrated Al Pacino film. Donnie Brasco, also with Johnny Depp, who I think this is Johnny Depp's finest performance. He really impressed me with this film. I was never too big on Johnny Depp. With this film, he made me a Johnny Depp fan, and I like the guy because of this film. He really did a great job in this film, and of course Pacino. He plays a very subtle sort of gangster role. This one, he's not a bombastic sort of gangster like he was in Scarface or whatever, or Dick Tracy. No, he's more subdued in this film. He's sort of more going back to his Michael Corleone days. But it's also not that, because Michael Corleone was the don of the family, and he left the character that Pacino plays in this film. He's just a foot soldier in the mafia family and the Bonanno crime family. But he just plays this role so well. This is one of the most underrated Pacino performances, and I love this film here. Donnie Brasco from 1997, directed by Mike Newell. Who knew that a Brit could direct a American gangster film this well? Anyway, next up we have 1990's Dick Tracy on Blu-ray. Warren Beatty stars and directed this film. He stars in the film, directed it. Also with Madonna, who I don't mind in this film. I don't mind Madonna, she's actually pretty good in this film. With an all-star cast, including Pacino, Dustin Hoffman is in it, James Caan turns up for a bit, the late great James Caan. Paul Sorvino, late great Paul Sorvino is in this. Just an all-star cast. And I've always loved this film, Dick Tracy. Sort of a parody for Pacino on his mob roles. Very over the top, but I love it. I absolutely love it. Next up, I think this is actually the year after. This is 1991. He did a romantic comedy, which a really good one. I think of sort of the more romantic / comedic sort of films that Pacino did. This might be the very best. Co-starring Michelle Pfeiffer, reuniting after Scarface. Directed by Gary Marshall, who did Pretty Woman. I could be mistaken, I think he did, but very heartwarming, once again, sort of romantic comedy about a waitress and a cook who fall in love, Pacino and Pfeiffer. He's the cook, she's the waitress, obviously. And yeah, it's a really good one, man. It's not my sort of film, once again, just like with Bobby Deerfield and stuff. Romantic films is not high up for me on films that I watch regularly. But whenever I do watch them, like this one, I did enjoy this film a hell of a lot. Let's put it that way. I really did. So, Frankie and Johnny. Next up is 1992's Glengarry, Glen Ross, directed by James Foley. All-star cast, including Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, Ed Harris, Alan Arkin, Jonathan Pryce, and yes, we have to address the elephant in the room. Kevin Spacey is also in it. Which, you know, despite of what the hell the guy did, he still is a good actor to me. You know, it's not going to tarnish his early work, knowing, you know, what kind of guy he is. Anyway, that's just me. But Yeah, Steelbook here. Here's the great scene with Baldwin. A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. And for this one, it's always be opening because... Oh, there we go. Anyway, yeah. Special features, Blu-ray and DVD. Great Steelbook, which I got thanks to my buddy Dan. Used to be known as Physical Media for Life and is now Dan's Man Cave. Highly recommended channel. And once again, thanks Dan for this Steelbook of a great film. I know it's one of Dan's favorites. And next up we have the classic, the untouchable Godfather Trilogy. This is the German special edition, Omerta edition, which has a lot of German writing on it, so you guys will not be able to understand, but most of you guys anyway. I know I have some German followers nowadays, but yeah, what can I say? The Godfather Trilogy, nothing really to say about it. We all know the first two are classics. The third one was a bit hit and miss for a lot of people, but it's all there, plus bonus disc, Godfather Part 2, Godfather. These are just movie quotes that are translated in German. Like here, never let anybody outside the family know what you're thinking. It's not business, it's not personal, it's strictly business. So yeah, the Godfather Trilogy also comes with photo cards, more photo cards, crap, and I hit the fucking camera, magnets, quiz cards, you can test your knowledge about the Godfather films. Great collector's edition. Again, like I said, we don't have too much time to go into collector's editions or booklets that come with stuff, but yeah, the Godfather Omerta edition. Not finished on the Godfather because there is this cash grab director's cut of the Godfather 3, which is called the Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, which for me, I still go with the original version of the Godfather 3, to be honest. Although it is good that we have both versions, so people can decide for themselves what they want. Like I said, for me personally, I still go with the original version. But yeah, there you go, the Godfather Coda. Next up is I think this went straight to video in 2017 or something. This is Hangman, The Killing Game with Pacino. Second build, because Carl Urban is top build in this film. Sort of thriller film, cop thriller. Only seen it once, don't remember too much about it. Don't have much incentive to rewatch it because I wasn't too blown away with it. Like I said, I don't think this one even had a theatrical release, which is a shame. That Pacino has to do certain films that go straight to DVD, but alas. And anyway, I still have it in my Pacino collection, so yeah, there you go, Hangman. Next up is a untouchable cop thriller classic, if you want. Yeah, it's a classic. Heat from 1995. This film is untouchable. It's a fantastic film. Pacino, De Niro, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore, John Voight, Amy Brenneman, Ted Levine. Great film, great cast, great direction by Michael Mann. 2-disc special edition, this one. And yeah, what can I say? There's nothing to be said. We all know Heat. The scene with Pacino and De Niro in the coffee shop. I've reenacted it a few times on my channel. I'm not gonna do it now. Again, we don't have too much time because the Pacino collection is quite big, but you all know where I stand on Heat. It's a fantastic one. I do consider it more of a De Niro standout role than I do Pacino, even though Pacino is very bombastic, very look at me, scene chewy in it, very, he commands the screen a bit, but it's really, I think De Niro shines a bit more than Pacino. But anyway, it's a great film nonetheless, you know, it doesn't take anything away. And last up for this part, because I'm probably gonna have to split this part, this video in two parts, is a recent Pacino film, the most recent anyway, House of Gucci, directed by Ridley Scott, Lady Gaga, Jeremy Irons, Adam Driver, Jared Leto, and yeah, I recently talked about this in the update where I showed it, which probably will air before this video. And you know, I do like this film. Wasn't expecting it. I was like, you know, it's about the Gucci family, fashion, stuff like that. But no, it was really about the family and the power struggle and stuff. And I really enjoyed this film. I think Ridley Scott delivered another great film here. And it was great to see Pacino working with Ridley Scott and Lady Gaga. She really, I said it before, I'll say it again, she really surprised me. She has a great future ahead of her as an actress. I think she's going to be in some great films in the years to come. She is terrific in this film. And that's it for part 1.